Hi, this is Jim Drake. Today, we're going to be talking with Mr. Jon Bennett. He's an Australian comedian, and he's doing two shows in the Gorge and an additional comedy workshop. He has a program called Fire in the Meth Lab, and we're going to talk to him about that today and find out more about him. Please join us and stay tuned.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So, what do we want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, I guess, start off with the artwork for your Fire in the Meth Lab show seems to be based on the Breaking Bad series.
Yep. That's it. That's my marketing team at work there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing the show for a little while, and to be honest, when I first did it, I did it at the Melbourne Comedy Festival in Australia, and Breaking Bad was just hitting its stride, like I think probably season 4, and it sold out everything because everyone was like, it's the Breaking Bad show, and which it's not at all. But then after the year after that at the comedy festival, so many shows had Breaking Bad themed.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was quite amazing.
Yeah. So, without too many spoilers, what is your show about and why would you want people to come see it?
Well, it's about my brother who is an addict, and it sort of follows through our childhood, sort of trying to work out how that happened. So I sort of chronologically go through our lives together from childhood up until now to try and see how addiction works and how he became this person. So it's sort of from my point of view as a brother, looking at your sibling who's 2 years older than you sort of go on this sort of downhill trajectory, and how did that happen?
Okay. Well, this sounds like of course, this is a deadly serious topic.
Yes, but it's a comedy show, so it's a lot about siblings and our dynamic growing up and how that happens in your childhoods and that sort of thing, and how quite often someone with a sort of normal in inverted commas upbringing still gets into addiction, and how that sort of infiltrates everywhere, like even in the outback of Australia. That is a thing that is happening there. So there's the drug addiction, and addiction is everywhere, and it's sort of hard to know where that comes from. So that's sort of what the skeleton of the show is.
Okay.
Yeah, while going through experiences that we had as children, and there's a lot of the humor comes in, like sibling rivalries and that sort of thing, and yeah, and probably from mainly a non-judgmental, brotherly type perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I also saw that in addition to the shows, one at the Bingen Theater, one at the Granada Theater, you're doing a storytelling workshop at the Bingen Theater on, I think that's Sunday.
Yeah.
What can people expect to learn from that?
Yeah, so I've been touring and performing and doing sort of stand-up and storytelling for about 20 years. And so I have eight fully fledged like hour-long storytelling comedy shows. So I use my sort of experience from doing that to let attendees sort of work out a 5-minute story that they've got. Some people just come and want to listen and don't want to take part, and that's fine as well. It's just a way to allow people to I've had lawyers come. I've had people who just want to have a good thing to talk about at a party, and we just sort of work out how their stories and put a beginning, middle, and end using the general, ethos of storytelling. We work out who's got a good story and what are the good bits and how to structure it.
Huh. That's kind of interesting because it's happening this year, and I think it started last year. We have here in Hood River a periodic event called it's a storytelling event,
Right.
and I don't think anyone had really done that before.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've toured a lot with the Moth. The Moth is a big storytelling thing on NPR. So I've
Oh
toured
yeah.
for the last like 8 years or so. I've toured with them doing stories, and I've been featured in a couple of their books. And one of their books is on how to tell a story. So I'm sort of, once that came out, I was like, oh, because I have massive imposter syndrome like everybody does. And I'm like, well, what do I know about anything? But then I've started teaching these workshops, and they're very like giving, and it's just about sharing a story. Everyone's got a story. It's just how you work out how you want to tell it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I grew up in the 70s and stuff, and I was exposed to comedy through a record we had in our house.
Right.
And
oh wow. Okay. Okay.
we have to go back to the Bill Cosby era of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I played this record so much, and it was truly an influence,
Yeah.
I guess, on what is this thing called stand-up comedy. I mean, it led to Saturday Night Live, and
Yeah.
who is this Cheech and Chong, and all that stuff. So who were your early influences, and what kinds of things made you say, I want to do stand-up?
Well, I've got a similar, we during the workshops, we also do a thing that's called end of story, which is where you tell me an anecdote or something, like, so you saying, this is what you listened to as a kid. The next person gets up and says, well, this is what I listened to. So you sort of go until you run out of subjects, but it's got to relate to the previous one. So my album, because I grew up in a very strict sort of religious upbringing, there were a couple of sort of Pentecostal religious comedians that were the only ones that my parents would let me listen to. And it was very much storytelling as well. Like, we had a tape, and it was a guy called, I think his name was Mike Warnke, and he was an American comedian, preacher type guy. And he like served in Vietnam, and he told these stories, but that's what I would like listen to as a real little kid. But it didn't make me want to get into comedy, I think. And my dad is a minister as well, so I think I had this sort of weird sort of performative upbringing, and with a troublesome brother. So I used comedy to sort of deal with these other elements in my life that could have sort of brought me down. So I used comedy to sort of deal with that. But I was at university when I was 18 years old, and my friends submitted me to a stand-up competition, and I went into that, and that's how I got into it. And I didn't win the competition. I didn't come second. I think I came on stage with a CD player, and it was just a recording of myself laughing. And after everything I said, I held the mic down to the CD player and just pressed play, and it was just me laughing at myself. That was my main bit at that time of my life. And so I didn't win, but then a promoter guy came up to me after the show and was like, do you want to keep doing this? And that's sort of how I started.
Great.
Yeah.
So I understand you grew up in Australia.
Yeah. In the sort of the mid-north of South Australia. Everything is dead and dry. on a pig farm. Yeah.
You've obviously done shows in the US and Australia, probably other places. Are there any like major differences in your audience that you see between continents?
Oh, for sure. And it's great. It's really wonderful to see the difference. In Australia, we have a thing that's called tall poppy syndrome. which is where you can't really be proud or too enthusiastic about anything. We're very self-deprecating, and so I always say in Australia, I'll do a show and like it takes me a while to win the audience over because there'll be a lot of people in the audience who are like, this guy thinks he's better than us, or, you know, I'm funny, I could do this sort of thing. Whereas in the States, you know, I've got places where I'll come back and do a show and I'll get a standing ovation as I walk on the stage. And they're like, oh, this guy is great. We're just happy to have him. So it's really funny. And then if you do New Zealand, they're even further down the sort of tall poppy type thing. And they don't want to respond to anything. And I've toured with some American comedians around New Zealand, and I watch the audience just go, too enthused, too enthusiastic. They've got to bring it down a notch. Yeah. So it's very funny. I've done shows in Southeast Asia and, you know, Europe and all around the place where half the audience doesn't even really speak English that well, which is always a challenge. Yeah.
I can imagine. So are you based in Portland now?
Yes. I moved here a year ago, a bit over.
Wow.
Yeah. Before COVID, I was permanently touring for the last like 9 years. I just sort of went where the shows are, and then COVID happened and I went back to Australia for a year and a half and sort of reevaluated everything, and then I moved over here for love. Yeah. Do
you feel is the Portland comedy scene fitting in with you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting used to it. Even the last year I spent probably 4 months on tour. So I travel and tour a lot to different sort of festivals and theaters, and I just sort of do wherever anyone that'll have me, I'll do the show. But yeah, the Portland scene is they're very supportive, and it's a thriving scene here. Like you can do 4 shows a night if you want to. So, but I haven't done much of that yet because I really haven't been in town that much. But, and I always like to run my own stuff. So, well, I've got a producer here through the comedy that's bringing me to Bingen and the Granada Theatre. That's in the Dalles, right? Dalles?
That's correct.
That right? Don't say dailies. I got told that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's been working out all those sort of shows, but I do a lot of my own stuff. I'm running my own storytelling show here in Portland, and I've got a residency at the Curious Comedy Club here. So they've produced a bunch of my shows to do, and they film them, and yeah, we've been doing that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon for you? You want to continue what you're doing, or you have any new ideas for future shows?
Yeah, I've just written a new show. I am doing it. Oh, well, I'll do it a couple of times here, and then I am doing a festival in Fresno, and then in Orlando, and then Tampa, and then I think a few others are popping up. But that's a brand new show about the what it took to move to America, and I've called it Americant or Americant if I do it in your accent. But yeah, because I never really planned to live in Portland or any of this, and then I met someone and never thought I'd settle down, and now that sort of happened inadvertently. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you found out about the Gorge.
Yeah. It should be fun. And I did a stand-up show at the Bingen Theatre as well a couple of months ago, and it was really well received. So it'll be fun to go back. That's a really beautiful theater as well. Have you been to there?
Yeah, I've been there a bunch of times. I kind of know one of the owners.
Yeah,
it's kind of been a landmark place in the Gorge for a long, long time.
Yeah, I just like that it's a cool old cinema, and the green room is the projection room, And like I studied cinema and film at university, so I'm a bit of a geek for those things. So I like that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have there's a recording studio
Yeah.
Facility in there too. So it's
Yeah, they've
kind of
done
a
a really good job.
multi-use
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm
place.
excited to do a show there. And I use a lot of multimedia and video and pictures and stuff in my shows. So they've got a big screen, which I always like doing shows where I can have a giant screen behind me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that way at the Granada Theater too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I haven't seen that one yet. But Dorothy, my producer, came to see a few of my shows and then was like, I'll produce these and take these around. So she's very specific in the theaters that she's got me in because she knows I like a giant screen and I like being dwarfed by my own stupid head, behind me. It's really, really fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Hey, Jon, thank you very much for coming online here.
No worries.
And good luck with your shows upcoming at the Bingen Theater, at the Granada Theater, and then another storytelling event.
Yeah.
The weekend of the 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Yeah, on the 18th as well. So we do the workshop, and then I'll be doing the workshops here in Portland as well. But then we do a show. We set up a show for the storytellers who are workshopping their stories to actually present them. So
nice.
In January, we will come back and all the people who've done the workshop can actually get a chance to perform their stories, and I'll host. And I just like the idea that if you do a workshop and you put in all the effort, you get an outcome, and they're going to film it and record it. So these people who do the workshops can get a finished product of what they've put all the work into.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
It sounds like if someone's really interested in, performing, storytelling and comedy, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah. And I do like the idea that it's in a sort of a smaller community, so all the community can come out and hear each other's stories. I hope there's someone who, has some rumors or something that's going on with other people in the town. That's what I hope. That's my hope for things to happen.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. And thanks for telling us about the Fire in the Meth Lab show.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
All right. That's all
right.
good.
Have a great day and good luck, and we'll see you down the road.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Take care.